Hey, Salut Friends. Today we are taking a look at another fragrance from Frederic Malle. This time it is Geranium Pour Monsieur. This is a 2009 release created by his most frequent collaborator, Dominique Ropion. This was still in the initial stages of their joint work when they had just done a few creations within Fleur de Cassis, Vetiver Extraordinaire and Carnal Flower. And since then, he ended up making almost one third of the fragrances for the brand. Hope from the Desert Gems being his 10th creation. They have explored a lot of themes together, be it florals, classic masculines, colognes, and even real oud fragrances. And I have said this before, as much as I respect Ropion's other important creations like Mugler's Alien and Dior Dune, etc., I think his best work is with Malle. This was created at a time when the brand itself was very small, still selling out of Barney's in New York and the flagship boutique in Paris, which is why Malle used to fly to Paris occasionally to meet with perfumers, market the perfumes, help with development and so on. During one such visit in the year 2008, Malle and Ropion were having lunch at this restaurant in Paris called Le Soufflé. By the way, I've been there a couple of times. The food is delicious. Highly recommend visiting if you're in the neighborhood. Anyway, as they were talking, Malle brought up this particular olfactory memory from a product that his father, Jean-François Malle, apparently used in the mornings, which he liked the smell of. That is this mouthwash called Eau de Boteau, which goes back to the time of Louis XV. They went back to a nearby pharmacy, smelled it, and decided to go with an idea to capture the fresh, spicy aspects of the smell in a fragrance for men. That is where the idea of Geranium Pour Monsieur began. Now coming to the smell, when I first spray this, I get this fruity, exhilarating mint. Here it is a combination of mint absolute and peppermint oil. Some people even consider this to be a mint fragrance, and I can see that. It is definitely equally important to geranium in this composition. It is fresh, spicy, aromatic, sparkling, and lightly sharp mint. Super refreshing and natural smelling. Brings that green, cooling, camphoraceous sensation, almost like a carbonated sherbet which has natural essences. The surprising aspect is, as opposed to other compositions where it is fleeting as part of the opening note, here it still remains for a good 5 hours. Along with the mint, the geranium comes in as the key player inspired by the Fougère family of fragrances, where it plays a major role along with lavender and coumarin. It's really clever how they use the subtraction tactic here for reinventing this particular style, because those days Fougère fragrances had a plethora of notes along with a ton of spices, aromatics, florals, amber, moss, and even animalics like civet. Here it's a very focused composition. The option here is Chinese geranium oil. Comes in fresh, spicy, rosy, somewhat fruity and lemony. Red colored marbles are what come to my mind when I smell it for some reason. Geranium, of course, is used in combination with rose in a lot of fragrances. Considered the masculine counterpart in French perfumery. Different context if it was somewhere in the Middle East. We will come back to that point later. It is minty as well. Of course, mint and geranium share a lot of molecules, which is why they are also used together, notably in sanitary products. This is also where the association of toothpaste comes from. It does not bother me personally. I'm able to disassociate the smell, but I've seen other people not being taken with it for this reason. So the opening with the combo of mint and geranium is hands down easily one of the most phenomenal openings I have smelled in a fragrance. Super refreshing, especially in warm weather. Further, this is not just for the opening. The mint geranium are really the pivot of this fragrance, lasting till the later dry down, like a pale green canvas ready to paint. If they were not done properly or in a manner that can get boring, the fragrance would have been a failure, but they made it work here. With them, a medley of spices start to come in: anise, cinnamon and clove. Anise is the dominant one for me in the initial stages. Again, anise shares many facets with mint and geranium while still being its own thing. Spicy, sweet, mentholated, herbal, licorice-like. Clove again in a similar vein. Cinnamon comes in a bit later with the benzoin and musk. Here, there is also a juxtaposition of warm spicy and cool spicy aspects of the scent. The transitions also feel very seamless with the scent because of the overlapping facets, yet it feels like it has a lot of layered construction. This fresh, spicy smell almost feels like this green shimmering volume crystal. Yes, it maintains that sort of natural crystalline breath like freshness as opposed to some other herbal scents which turn dusty or musky fast. But it also has this wonderful artificial metallic, very modern side to it, something like what Hermes tried with H24 except on a different level. Coming back to the transition further into the dry down, the pitch of this fresh green coolness of the geranium and mint plus the spices, clove and anise starts to decrease step by step, except for the one spice that continues through, which is the CO2 cinnamon. All the ingredients here smell of really high quality, many from LMR, which is Laboratoire Monique Rémy. The cinnamon is sort of dispersed in this soft bed of CME's styrax benzoin, which makes for this fuzzy, warm amber accord. Some sandalwood also starts to come through in the base, not a textured woodiness, more so this soft creaminess along with the musks, almost like a shaving foam, serving as the landing strip for the scent. A wisp of some cool crystalline incense in the background, adding some sparkle to the scent, kind of like the sensation of carbonated water. With that also a huge dose of billowy white musks, which turns this usually weak scent profile to a tenacious one. The brand has also been transparent to mention a couple of aroma chemicals in the composition. I was getting this underlying floral, ozonic, marine, borderline aldehydic smell throughout, which is probably from the synthetic called floralozone. Additionally, a note of rightly dosed ambroxan, which is not at all intrusive here. In the last stages of the dry down, this woody musk with the simmering spicy geranium and mint is what's left as the scent finishes its journey to create a concise and coherent, verging on bohemian interpretation of a fougère. Coming to the performance, it's moderate, which is good considering this is a fresh fragrance. I tend to go generous with the number of sprays with some on my clothes, and with that I get about 7 hours. Projection is also moderate, which works with this kind of scent profile, forming a clean, refreshing cloud around you. Obviously spring and summer, warm weather kind of scent. Though I gotta say there is enough warmth from the musks that I sometimes spray it even during colder weather for a quick pick-me-up. Naturally, with the historic association of certain scent profiles with men and with the name Pour Monsieur, going to be masculine leaning in the traditional sense, but it's not so stereotypically masculine, nothing textured, swampy or screaming chest hair, so women could pull this off. In fact, I know some who enjoy this themselves, especially for the floral, rosy aspects. In summary, I just adore this fragrance. It's been my go-to summer scent for the last 4 years, along with Chanel Eau de Cologne. You can see the dent below the label. The sillage it creates in the heat is just so remarkable and unassuming. On one hand, amongst the more abstract creations, this smells like it needs skin like a person, like a well-groomed, composed, laid-back, Italian cotton suit-wearing gentleman traveling across the Mediterranean, whose demeanor reflects an unshakable inner calm. Frederic even mentioned Lucchino Visconti as a reference when making this fragrance. Really has a style and sass with its radiant nature. On the other hand, from my own association of mint with healing and hygiene growing up, whether it be in cuisine or mint water being served as a drink at temples and whatnot, I find it to be incredibly calming, relaxing, alleviating smell that puts me at ease. I particularly remember taking a sample of this during my trip to Marrakech. We have the hustling, bustling, red-orange parts of the city with the clay buildings, spice markets, sand in the air and whatnot. But then I visited the secret garden, which is like a different world by itself, extremely peaceful and meditative. Even tasted their Maghreb tea. As for Frederic Malle, it's a milestone creation with his lucky charm Dominique Ropion, creating this neo fougère. Secondly, though this is not obvious, this DNA would come to play a monumental role in the future creations of the house. It evolved from a mouthwash to this, to replacing geranium for rose, creating Portrait of a Lady, and then adding oud in it, resulting in the night. Additionally, making geranium one of the signature notes of the house after noir épice and on to rosé cuir by different perfumers, even inspired more houses to do their own mint-based fragrances. I myself started paying attention to geranium as a standalone note thanks to Geranium Pour Monsieur. Easily one of my favorite fragrances, be it from Edition Parfums or in general. It's simply nonchalant masculinity and serenity personified in a bottle, one that I like to keep revisiting. So that has been my review of Geranium Pour Monsieur. Thanks for watching, take care and ciao.